Russian veto brings an end to the UN panel that monitors North Korea nuclear sanctions. Israeli court halts subsidies for ultra-Orthodox, deepening turmoil over mandatory military service. Dengue is sweeping through the Americas early this year. Today is Friday, March 29th, 2024, and this is the Dunkley Report International News. Russia has vetoed a UN resolution in a move that effectively abolishes the monitoring by United Nations experts of UN sanctions against North Korea over its nuclear program, though the sanctions themselves remain in place. Russia's vote on Thursday prompted Western accusations that Moscow was acting to shield its weapons purchases from North Korea for use in its war against Ukraine in violation of sanctions. The Security Council resolution, sponsored by the United States, would have extended the mandate of the panel for a year, but Russia's veto will halt its operations. Russia's UN ambassador says Western nations are trying to strangle North Korea, and sanctions have proven irrelevant and detached from reality in reining in its nuclear program. Israel's Supreme Court has ordered an end to government subsidies for many ultra-Orthodox men who don't serve in the army. It's a blockbuster ruling that could have far-reaching consequences for Israel's government and the tens of thousands of religious men who refuse to take part in mandatory military service. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu faces the most serious threat yet to his government as he struggles to bridge a major split in the shaky national unity government cobbled together after Hamas' October 7th attack. In his coalition, the powerful bloc of ultra-Orthodox parties demands that religious men be exempted. The centrist members of his war cabinet insist all sectors of Israeli society must share the burden of the war in Gaza. Dengue is surging across the Americas early this year, from Puerto Rico to Brazil. Officials said Thursday that 3.5 million cases of the tropical disease had been reported in the region as of this week. The regional office of the World Health Organization says that's 3 times more cases than reported at this point last year. More than 80% of current cases are in Brazil, followed by Paraguay, Argentina, Peru, and Colombia. Usually, dengue spikes during the wet season, which is still months away. The dengue virus is spread to people when they are bitten by infected mosquitoes. The Philippine president says his government will take action against what he called dangerous attacks by the Chinese Coast Guard and suspected militia ships in the disputed South China Sea, saying, "Filipinos do not yield." Ferdinand Marcos Jr. did not provide details of his government's response, but says it will be proportionate. China's defense ministry accused the Philippines of escalating the South China Sea disputes by infringing on Chinese sovereignty. Disputes between China and the Philippines are escalating in the contested waters, where there have been minor collisions between the Coast Guard and other vessels of the rival claimant nations. Lawmakers in France's lower house of parliament have approved a bill that would ban discrimination over the texture, length, color, or style of someone's hair. The bill's authors hope the groundbreaking bill sends a message of support to black people and others who have faced hostility in the workplace and beyond because of their hair. But the measure still faces a long road ahead. It goes to the Senate next, where it could face opposition. Only 50 of the National Assembly's 577 lawmakers were on hand for Thursday's vote. But they overwhelmingly backed the bill in a 44-2 vote. There were 4 abstentions. A nonprofit organization has sued the U.S. National Park Service over a plan to remove Puerto Rico's famous stray cats from a historic district in the U.S. territory. The lawsuit filed by Maryland-based Alley Cat Allies comes 4 months after the federal agency announced it would contract an animal welfare organization to remove an estimated 200 cats that live in an area surrounding a historic seaside fortress in Old San Juan. The organization announced the lawsuit on Thursday. The National Park Service did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The Palestinian Authority has announced the formation of a new cabinet as it faces international pressure to reform. President Mahmoud Abbas, who has led the PA for nearly 2 decades, announced the new government in a presidential decree on Thursday. None of the incoming ministers is a well-known figure. At least one, the incoming Minister for Jerusalem Affairs, is a member of Abbas' secular Fatah party. Abbas tapped longtime advisor Mohammed Mustafa to be prime minister earlier this month. Mustafa is a politically independent, U.S.-educated economist. He has vowed to form a technocratic government and create an independent trust fund to help rebuild Gaza. The U.S. wants a revitalized PA to administer post-war Gaza. However, Israel has rejected that idea. Russia's top investigative body says that another suspect has been detained as an accomplice in the attack by gunmen on a suburban Moscow concert hall that killed 143 people. A statement from the investigative committee said Thursday that the latest person detained was involved in financing Friday's attack on the Crocus City concert hall, in which gunmen shot people who were waiting for a show by a popular rock band, and then set the building on fire. It did not give further details of the suspect's identity or alleged actions. Officials previously said that 11 suspects had been arrested. A faction of the Islamic State group has claimed responsibility for the massacre. Pope Francis has washed and kissed the feet of 12 women inmates at a Rome prison. The 87-year-old Francis performed the Holy Thursday ritual from his wheelchair. The Rebibia prison venue was outfitted to accommodate his needs. The women sat on stools on a raised-up platform, enabling the Pope to move down the line with ease from his wheelchair without having to strain himself. Many of the women wept as Francis performed the gesture, which is a hallmark of every Holy Week, and recalls the foot-washing Jesus performed on his 12 apostles at their Last Supper together before he was crucified. Thank you for joining us here at the Dunkley Report International News. Don't forget to like and subscribe for the latest breaking stories.